All right, welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich. My partner, Sean, is having some trouble right now. It shows he has no internet connection. For a second, then it disappeared. So he's trying to get back in as we speak. So I'm like my phone and see again. Anyway, welcome everybody. Tonight I just kind of wanted to do it's kind of a little bit of retreading old ground, but the two things that tied hand to hand, two subject matters we're going to talk about tonight. Number one, the hey Robert, this rumor mill has it, and nothing official has come out, but the rumor mill has it that the Saints are interested in Jadeveon Clowney. He's probably one of the biggest names in free. Story last week came out basically saying that the Saints were trying to work on a 1-year deal, and Clowney will try once again to hit free agency after a single season. He was injured a lot last year, so the question becomes, what do you get if you get a Jadeveon Clowney? Well, what was that? Okay. Sean is sending me pictures now. And they're not dirty pictures. Why am I looking at this? No, just kidding. Yeah, I don't know what any of this is. I'll try sending him this again. Oh, I think he's in. I see Sean. Sean, you're in?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, we started up already because I was just letting everybody know you were having internet problems.
Yeah. This global pandemic just really screws with me, man.
Okay.
How's everybody doing tonight?
I think everybody's doing all right. We got two in so far, Robert and Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Basically, I started off the show by talking about the rumor that Jadeveon Clowney and the Saints are working on a 1-year deal. And with Clowney being, it's his birthday month. Happy birthday, Jerry. His birthday is on the 14th or Juneteenth. Hi, Anna.
No. Yes, it is, actually. Yes, it is. Yeah. It's the same day as my son's. Same day as Andrew's.
Okay. So anyway, with the rumor mill saying that Jadeveon Clowney is and the Saints are working on a 1-year deal, the discussion I wanted to go in tonight was, what would you get with a Jadeveon Clowney, and how would you use him with the Saints? So Sean, you just jumping in like this, I'll ask you, what do you think of these rumors about Jadeveon Clowney? Would you want to sign him? And how would you use him if you did want to sign him?
Well, to be totally honest, as far as Jadeveon Clowney goes, in terms of long-range plans with the New Orleans Saints, I could take him or leave him. It wouldn't break my heart to see him not signed. It wouldn't make my hopes jump a great deal for him to sign. What you're going to get just exactly what you pay for with Clowney. I think his track record speaks for itself, and I hate to say that, but he was in Houston. Houston shipped him out, knowing that you had a subpar, prime J.J. Watt on the other side, and yet and still you shipped him out. Now that speaks volumes to me in terms of how the hierarchy feels towards him. Seattle, basically the same thing. He's been there, what, 1 year now? 2 years?
1 year. Now, Seattle allegedly has tried to offer him a long-term deal, but it's not for the money he wants. But at the same time, the rumor also says Cleveland offered him the money he wanted, but he didn't want to go to Cleveland. So
nobody wants to go to Cleveland. You just end up in Cleveland.
It's like Denny's, right? Nobody actually starts out saying, I'm going to Denny's. They end up at Denny's because everything else is closed.
Yeah. I think that at one point in time, for someone who has brandished a career out of one, and I hate to say this because it really it sells him short, but somebody who's made a career out of one highlight reel play in college. Everybody knows about the big hit on that Michigan running back, and
Mhm.
I think that it's safe to say that the career of Jadeveon Clowney has been disappointing. Uh, you had such high hopes of him coming in, and to be honest, when he was paired with J.J. Watt, I thought that would be an absolutely unstoppable combination because Jadeveon Clowney really is talented. He really has a lot of skill, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
Talent. He has a lot of
Yeah,
talent.
yeah, but I mean, all the talent. You and I talk about this on this program a lot. All the talent in the world's not going to. And are we after prime time? Can we go to from PG to like?
We can go. We can go a little bit. Yeah.
Well, all the talent in the world's not going to make up for a shitty attitude.
I
If
don't.
you're not
Yeah.
going to be a team player, you're not going to have a very long career in this league. You have got to be sold out for the collective. I mean, it's almost like communism. You have got to sell out for the bigger picture. It's not about you; it's about the team, and that seems to be to me from everything that I've read and seen. That seems to be the disconnect with Jadeveon Clowney at this point. He's more concerned with Jadeveon Clowney than he is winning games for the team that employs him.
I agree with almost everything you said. My thing with Clowney is, I think he's got a little bit of Indominus Sue in him. He turns it on when he wants to turn it on, and
True.
you cannot be an NFL player, an elite NFL player, if you only turn it on for the big games. And we've talked about this before when it comes to Marcus Lattimore, Marshawn Lattimore,
Marshawn.
sorry, Marshawn Lattimore. That he only seems to want to turn it on when he's playing against a top receiver, but for so receivers, he doesn't go through the motions, but he doesn't play to his capabilities. And I think that's what you get with Clowney. I think you have an injury-prone player who turns it on for the big matchups when all the cameras are on him, and he knows this beating this player is a statement to get on all the ESPN highlight shows, all the NFL Network shows. They're going to show that play over and over again, just like they did when he was in college. And I
to
think
bolster that image.
Yeah, I think that's a negative, a huge negative for him. And then you couple that with injuries, and I think he kind of nurses some injuries a little bit. Not saying he doesn't play through pain. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, he's got a little bit of a Donnell Ellaby to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to play unless he feels like he can play 100% when he wants to, and that's kind of what I'm saying as far as nursing injuries a little bit. So if you sign a guy like him, you can't make him a starter. Davenport's your starter. All you can really do with him is use him for specialty packages. And I don't know if he wants to be that kind of player. Well, third down pass rushing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Number one, as we've stated many times before, that defensive line room is going to be very crowded as it is right now, even without Jadeveon Clowney being added to the mix. And at the very best, the best that, in my opinion anyway, the best that Clowney would ever be able to hope for with the New Orleans Saints is to be a situational substitution. And like you said, I don't know if he's willing to resign himself to that or not.
And my is, I think he's a bit of a mercenary. Um, he, I think he's willing to do that if he thinks he's going to be on a winning team that gets a lot of national exposure. Okay, playing against Tom Brady twice a year is very appealing to him because sacking Tom Brady is a big deal, right? So, I mean, I can
Well,
see his interest in that.
yes, but there again, in the role of situational substitute player, how many opportunities is he going to have to be able to sack Tom Brady? I
Well,
mean,
and that's just
you
it.
got to be realistic when you're thinking about it.
And that's what I'm saying as far as making him a specialized player because he's not going to be a starter. You're not putting Davenport on the bench. You've invested too much in him, and your goal is to develop Davenport. And Davenport can't be developed if he's sitting on the bench. So he's got to start. So, and then the argument is, well, Davenport's been hurt. Okay, so you're going to sign a player who's been injured even more than Davenport to replace him? It doesn't work that way. So I am intrigued by the idea of him on the team, but like you, I'm not sold on it. I think the money could be spent elsewhere, probably for a better player, but it's a glamour position. It's like signing a wide receiver. It's like signing a running back. It's like signing a quarterback to an extent. Um, it's a flashy position because when defensive ends make sacks, that's what people remember. They judge defensive ends by how many sacks you got, not how well you play the run,
Exactly.
not how well you tie up blockers so other people can make plays. It's about how many sacks you get as a player, and it's just the nature of the beast.
To put it mildly, and I don't mean this to slight Jadeveon Clowney's ability or his skill set that he's bringing to the table. I take absolutely nothing away from him,
Mm-hmm.
but I really and truly looking at it legitimately, I don't see how that is a position of need for the New Orleans Saints. Not when you have the roster that you have right now on the defensive line. I can't see Clowney as being the piece at the top.
I think if you look at it in comparison to I like okay, if Davenport goes down, who comes in to replace him? Well, right now it's Trey Hendrickson. Is Trey Hendrickson better than Clowney? No. So that's again where I see he could fit in. I think you've got a great starting front four. I think you've got a 5 and 6 and probably a 7 at the defensive tackle. Oh, we lost Sean. Sean's having internet trouble like you would not believe. But I think you have 5, 6, and 7, your defensive tackles. And I'm talking about, okay, behind, he's trying to get back in, behind Brown. And let's see, is he coming? There he is. Are you back? Nope.
I got to tell you, my internet connection right now is absolute garbage. I think I'm looking. I think I have like 1 bar signal. So if it drops me out, the best that I can do is try to rejoin.
There you go.
I'm going to have to find a better way of doing this.
Okay. All right. You have to teach you how to steal somebody's signal. Learn your neighbor's password. Okay, so what I was saying was, I think your depth in that defensive line is at defensive tackle. I think behind Malcolm Brown and there he goes again, Malcolm Brown and Sheldon Rankins. I think Onyemata, Shy Tuttle. You've got good depth there, but behind defensive end is Carl Ganderson. There he is, Carl Ganderson, Trey Hendrickson. You're really you don't have much experience depth behind him or very talented depth. So I can see that's where Clowney would fit in, but Clowney would have to be willing to accept that role as a wave player or a guy who comes in for special packages, not as an every down starter.
Yeah, and where you're going to have the disconnect there is your players like Hendrickson and the guys that you mentioned. They have a leg up on him because they have already got years in experience in this system and know what's expected of them, whereas Clowney will be coming in dry.
Exactly. And there's anything anyone doesn't like, they don't like to have anything run into them dry. Anyway, you didn't catch that one, did you?
No, you did not. Man, do you remember the early days of Under the Dome when we were on where that's what the broad, that's what I'm getting right now. And
great.
In a way I'm nostalgic because it reminds me of the old days.
I got you.
But it's frustrating as hell. So
okay, so
say it again.
I said if there's anything people do not like, it's like they don't like things run into them dry. So anyway,
yeah, I can attest to that. Yeah,
we're talking about ribs, of course. We're talking about ribs. You know, we don't like dry ribs. We like keeping it above board. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the gutter, my mind would be homeless. Anyway,
quarantine has had a negative effect on people's personalities.
Day 257 without sex. There he goes again. Anyway, the next thing we want to talk about then, as we get into this regular season, and he's back. As we get into this regular season, I'm going to switch gears on you. The next topic we're going to talk about is do what?
To quote Damon Wayans, this is making my Agent Orange act up.
I bet. So let me ask you this, and this is the theme of the show tonight. Give me back my bullets. I'm watching old Saints games again, and we're going into looking at that offense, multiple weapons to throw to, hanging 40 points on people. I'm talking about the 2011 Saints. Will a stronger defense, because the past 3 playoff games we've lost on the final play of the game. And even in 2011, we kind of lost on the final drive by the 49ers. Because even though we got the ball back with a few seconds left, it wasn't enough to do anything. My question to you then is, should we be looking at more weapons for this offense, this playoff hump, or should we be focusing on defense and figuring out, because Drew has, in all 3 playoff games, gotten the Saints in the position to win the ball game by getting a game-winning drive. And we have the lead, and we give it up. So which is it? Should we have more weapons on offense, or should we work on getting players on defense, more players on defense, like I just did, to get the big stop at the end of the game? So we save, and there he goes again. Yeah, because Sean keeps ghosting Paula. That's why we're going to call him Casper. And he's back. Should we get defensive players to close the door on these teams? Your thoughts?
Personally speaking,
well, I don't want you speaking for.
I don't think that. I don't think that speaking in generalization, I guess, I don't think you can ask for any more than what you have on offense. I mean, you got a monumental missing piece, or what that in Emmanuel Sanders, because now you have more than Michael Thomas, obviously. And that was a big concern. And you still have Jared Cook, and you've got Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. The glaring need, as far as from top to bottom on this team, to me, is the fact that you got Demario Davis sitting out there on an island. He needs help.
Yeah.
I don't, as much as I love Anzalone and what he's brought to this team, I don't see him as being a reliable piece to the puzzle right now, because it's the Teron Armstead thing all over again. You're only as good as the time that you're available to be on the field. And with Anzalone, that may be half or less than the season. You're brittle, you're fragile, you're not going to help this team. And same thing can be said about Teron Armstead. The same thing can be said about Pete. The same thing can be said about those other guys that spend half the season on IR.
Yeah. Wait till Sean sees what I just wrote about him too. Yeah, I get that, and find those issues by bringing in. They brought in some linebackers. Well, they're more special teams linebackers, but you brought in the kid from Pittsburgh. Anthony, I ended up calling him Chicklets because I could not remember how to pronounce his last name. But he was a special teams linebacker with the Steelers. Kiko Alonso is coming off of a torn ACL. Bond, we made the draft pick for. So, I see that. I think we need help in the linebacking core. And I don't know if there's any help really coming, because looking at the free agents, there's just not a whole lot out there. So, yeah, it's Demario Davis and probably Bond by late season. And there he goes again. But in the meantime, how long does it take Bond to get up to speed to get to that level? I'm going to try and leave him in. Oh, he came back. Okay.
I am just about to go from PG-14. I'm just about to go from PG-13 to XXX. I am pissed monumentally right now.
Can you go from Wi-Fi to just your data?
Wait a minute, I'm on there twice.
You're not on there.
I'm on there twice.
You're not on twice anymore.
I closed the other one off.
I closed the other one off. Can you go from Wi-Fi to data? You're just your regular.
I'm on data right now. My bars show 1, so okay. I guess it's just the location. And I apologize to everyone. There's a lot going on that I'll elaborate on at another time. But we're doing the show from a remote location tonight.
I got you. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're in the coronavirus bunker here.
Okay, here we go. All right. So I guess my basic point is, yes, we need linebacker help. I think we do need secondary help. I mean, like I said, sure. The players that we have behind Jack Rabbit, just so I don't keep getting the two Jenkins confused, but Jack Rabbit and Marshawn Lattimore, you really don't have a strong nickel and dime cornerback. You're kind of hoping for maybe the kid from the XFL pans out, maybe some of these other guys grow up, pan out, maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is just your full-time nickelback right now. It's a bunch of things you have to kind of count on.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree with you. Right now, there's the secondary is kind of, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's kind of at a tipping point, because you have talented players, but they're going to have to embrace their role and adapt to their role. As you alluded to earlier, Marshawn Lattimore is all about the big game, and that defensive rookie of the year has looked anything but since his rookie season. and has gone so far as to allude to that in post game interviews last year after the Rams game, where he said, "Well, I guess I needed to be more ready to play." Excuse me.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he's gotten better, but we still have that. You still have that issue.
Yeah, and then you got Janoris Jenkins, and as you and I have alluded to before, you have to sit and wonder if Janoris Jenkins is going to fall into the same thing as the last guy, and
Eli
then the guy
Apple.
before him. Yeah, Eli Apple, and then Ken Crawley.
Yeah.
You know, they have a fantastic first season, and you see all the promise in the world, and then it just it turns into a mushroom cloud.
And kind of my security blanket, my little safety blanket I had out there is gone now. Eli Apple signed with the Carolina Panthers last week. So
thank you.
Well,
could
but
y'all just make PJ? By the way, happy birthday to PJ Williams. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope you find another job too. By the way.
Oh my God. Well, we ain't having PJ Williams guest on this show anytime soon. So anyway.
Well, he doesn't have to wonder how I feel.
Yeah, well, then that leads into the next player that a lot of people have been talking up a lot is Logan Ryan. I'm not a big fan of Logan Ryan, but I know others are because they see Logan Ryan as a much better player than Patrick Robertson or PJ Williams.
Well, my thing is this: with a PJ or with a Patrick Robinson, P-Rob, with those guys, if they were going to prove it, they've had ample and more than enough opportunity to prove it so far.
Yeah.
If they can step into the gap and prove themselves and be reliable, that's all that matters. I've made a lot of jokes at PJ's expense on this show, and but you know, if PJ can step in there and do the job, that's all that matters to me. But we have to have someone that we can depend on, not someone that's going to play like the defensive player of the league one week and then be turnstile the next.
Yeah. Well, you know, and this again goes back to what we started the show with Jadeveon Clowney. During Dome Patrol years, hey Chad, during Dome Patrol years, you know, you had a great and you got a lot of sacks, but the weaknesses of the Dome Patrol defense was the secondary.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about in pass coverage, you know, because, and unfortunately he has CTE, but you know, shoot, I'm sorry, I just lost his name. Not
Give
Brett
me a number.
McAtee. Gene Atkins, 28.
Gene Atkins.
Gene Atkins has CTE, unfortunately, but I mean,
man.
he could hit like nobody's business. I mean, he was taking players out. He was a hitter. You know, Reginald Jones was a solid but not a great cornerback. But you only got him for a couple seasons. Torrey Cook was really the only other solid corner you had, and even he was shaky. You know, the rest of it was just a parade of players, starting with Dave Waymer, who ended up moving to safety because he was a better safety than a corner. You know, Reggie Sutton couldn't leave the cocaine alone. Van Jake
that was a common thread during that period of time, not only on defense but on offense as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, Barry Ward. That's why he ended up in Kansas City, is because he had drug problems and ended up going to Kansas City.
Snorted a line all the way there.
Yeah. Going back, you know, Chuck Muncie, you know, the defensive end, Don Reese, number 60, going to George Rogers. Michael Strawn, of course, was providing all the, you know, the drugs for everybody. And then working your way, well, he was. I mean, that's what he got in trouble with. Waymer was hooked on it. Frank Warren, George Rogers, Don Reese, Chuck Muncie. And Michael Strawn was the running back the Saints drafted in 1975, number 33. he was their pusher. He was their. That's who they went to, and he hooked them up. And that's how they were able to track stuff because of the checks they were writing to their teammate for drugs. And Strawn ended up going to prison for a little while. But players like Frank Warren, Dave Waymer, George Rogers all skated because they flipped to reveal it was Strawn and where the money was coming from. And,
so they rolled over on their teammate, basically.
Well, Strawn was gone by the end of the '80s season.
Well, that's even better. You can blame it on somebody that's not there to take the rap for it anymore.
Right. Well, but he was still supplying them because Rogers and it was 81. I mean, Frank Warren was 82. I mean, so you're talking about players even after he's gone, he's still supplying. That's a hookup. Muncie was gone from the Chargers after 83 because he couldn't stay off the cocaine.
But we've talked about this a lot on here, but it's not a Saints-centric issue because that's a sign of those times. It permeated every level of society, and the people that were more affluent and more well off seem to have the more access, obviously, but have the more struggles with it.
Well, I mean, clearly, the most famous player in the NFL of the '80s was Lawrence Taylor, and he was a cokehead. He was. I mean, I'm not going to. He won't deny it. No one will deny it.
No,
but, I mean,
no.
But
there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that he played coked out of his mind more oftentimes than he didn't.
So did Thomas Hollywood Henderson. I mean,
absolutely.
In the NFL footage for Super Bowl 13, you can see, he said, you can see in the footage the little vial he kept his coke in his uniform pants. You can see it hanging off of a string when he's making a tackle because it's there. But, when people talk about, and this is going way off subject, but it does relate to today's game. When people talk about, man, the players today, you get caught with a little weed, the league's all over you, and you get, 4-game suspension and all these other things. But, you beat up a woman, you don't get anything. The reason why the league has been that way is because of what happened in the 70s and the 80s when they cracked down, because they had no drug policy in the 70s. And it wasn't until the 80s they started making this policy. And they wanted to make a policy that regardless if you are Lawrence Taylor or you're Michael Strawn, a backup running back, you're going to be treated the same. You're going to get, this is what happens. First offense, you get drug tested often. Second offense, 4-game suspension. Third offense, season suspension. Fourth, and they laid it all out. And that's why I kept saying, and apparently the players decided not to go there. But if you want domestic abuse treated the same way or worse than drugs, it's got to go through the CBA, and the players have to be willing to agree to that. They were willing to agree with the drug stuff, and it's been in the CBA ever since. And that's what has to happen, where the has set punishment, so it's out of the commissioner's hands.
Because
the commissioner doesn't have to
I
make
think
these
that,
choices.
I think that's the I've used this word several times tonight. That's where the disconnect is in the CBA, is the fact that you in the last CBA you gave Roger Goodell all power to enforce.
You did Congress. This is what Congress does, and I'm gonna get a little political right now, but Congress, has booted its lawmaking powers to the president and the Supreme Court because they don't want to have to touch the issues that have people screaming at each other.
And that winds up with them being without a job.
Well, no, they have a job, but they don't want to deal with the tough stuff.
Yeah.
They want to blame the president or they want to blame the Supreme Court. You should not. And again, I apologize for the political stuff, but I'm going to go on this
I
little
don't.
rant. I'm going to go on this little rant. But if you got protesters in front of the Supreme Court protesting a law that they're going to rule on, that's a problem. The Supreme Court shouldn't be making laws. That's Congress's job. If you're mad that the president is going to declare martial law or started a war with a country or bombed a country, be mad at Congress, because that's Congress's job, and Congress is supposed to be the one, and they booted that power over to the president because they don't want to go on record as being for or against a military action because, the polls say right now the public's for it, but if they find out that something goes wrong, the public's going to be against it, and I won't get reelected, so I don't want that problem. Let it go to him. That's his problem.
That's what that was the point that I was trying to make about it being about their jobs.
Yeah.
They don't want they don't want to carry the responsibility of being responsible, if that makes any sense.
Well, and that's, to me, that's what the players union had done when they gave Goodell all these powers. Because they don't want to deal with, domestic abuse. They don't want to deal with these other things, because then we, I don't, players might not like that. Some players, like, I can't believe I'm going to quote Bobby Hebert, but Bobby Hebert a long time ago, this is when he first went on the air with WWL, and this is when he was with Kenny Wilkerson, so it tells you how old this is. But they were talking about, and this is long before Ray Rice, this was something that happened, I want to say Willie Roaf, but don't quote me on that because I'm not. But Bobby Hebert basically said, if you're having trouble with your woman, and I just started laughing, like, I can't believe you just said this on the air. If you're having trouble with your woman in public, you don't put your hands on her. You just got to put them away for a while. And I'm like, you got to do what? You got to put him away for a while? But that's a mentality for some players that, no woman's going to tell me what to do. No woman's going to, do this or that. So they don't want to deal with domestic issues.
Since junior high, you've been brought up to believe that you're the alpha male, and let make no mistake about it. When you're an elite athlete, you are the alpha male. That's just, it is what it is.
Well, you play a sport that's based on aggression. You solve problems aggressively. Okay.
Yeah.
What do we love about the Saints offense? It's an aggressive offense. Somebody cheap shots you. You can go get them on the next play.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So,
modern day gladiators. That's all it is.
And for some people, it doesn't end. You step off the field. That mindset that it's you have to be able to compartmentalize. I just butchered that word to hell, but you have to be able to put it into a small room. You put this in a small room. You've got to be able to separate your life at, okay, this is how I am at football, but when I'm home, I'm a totally different person. Okay.
Well,
some people can do that.
Even at the level that you and I played in our careers, it gets, the further that you get with it, it's increasingly hard to flip that switch and say, now I'm on, now I've got to be this. And then when the clock runs out, you flip that switch off and say, okay, now I'm normal again.
Well, yeah, you do need some time to decompress.
Absolutely.
And some time to, gather. And the way I would always do is just go over what went right and what went wrong and what you had to fix and stuff. But at the same time, you got to temper. You've got to. You need to. It's hard. I mean, it takes a unique individual, and that's why you see the best players like a Drew Brees, who can, and the best cornerbacks. Even when we go back to talking about cornerbacks forgetting or having amnesia about a play,
Sure.
the best players figure out a way to live their life based off of that's behind me. This is the next thing I need to do. And
I had a defensive back coach that told me one time, the best defensive backs in the world don't live in the last 15 minutes. They live in the next 15 minutes.
yeah,
And
so,
I never in all of that was when I was probably 14, 15 years old. I have never found anything that was more appropriate, a better way of saying that than that. And quarterbacks, you could say the same thing about.
Yeah, it's about focus. It's about, living for that second. When that second's over with, you're living for the next second.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people aren't wired that way. You're really not. You're wired to worry about, and people are doing it right now. They're worrying about what I have to do tomorrow, what I have to do next weekend, what I have to do next week, what is due. How am I going to make, how am I going to do this from this point A to point B? Whenever something's going on, people always bring up stuff that's going to happen. You're at level 220 and you're worried about what happens in level 1000. I mean, that's just the way people are wired. We live that way. So it's hard for people to get used to that. And this drug us way away from what I was going with the dome patrol in the secondary. But
it's not like we ever get off topic.
I know. But that was the point I was trying to make, though, with the CBA and stuff, is that the players right now are only focused on one thing, making sure they can get more money for their brief careers. When it comes to discipline and punishments and things like that, they'd much rather make Goodell be the bad guy than have their own teammates mad at them for passing punishments that crack down hard on behavior that they know they all do. And I'm not talking about just spousal abuse. I'm talking about anything that could get them in trouble, whether it's
elitist attitudes.
Well, whether it's taking diuretics so you can make weight, whether it's safe steroids, and I'm putting that in quotation marks because remember when we were talking? Remember when what the hell was his name? The dirty player, the linebacker for the Denver Broncos.
Romanowski.
Yeah, he was with the Raiders too. Remember he was selling that EAS, that health food stuff. Some of it, and people were alleging that some of it was steroid stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that the league, the players have a hard time agreeing on. These are the kind of punishments we should have for players who do these things, as it does affect their pocketbook. It does affect their money. So they much rather
you just wait. They've just recently approved the new CBA, correct?
Yep, they did.
Okay, well, you just wait until this proposed season begins, when there's no butts in the stands, there's not an ass every 18 inches, and these owners aren't reaping the benefit of all these people coming to these games and the revenue that entails. And you wait until these owners start telling these players, hey, we're going to cut your salary because we're not drawing that money.
But television is really what drives the whole thing. And if television is seeing the ratings decline because people aren't watching games in empty stadium, that's when they feel it. That's really what it is, more than the revenue. Season ticket holders or people showing up at the game. It's television, and that's where the issue really comes in for that. But what I was just saying, is that that's where the players' focus is. They want guaranteed money. They want to make as much money as they can. They already lost out on the rookie cap. Some of these players will never see a contract past their rookie contract. Look at how many players we're seeing right now already. Teams are declining their fifth-year option. So that's where their focus is. Their focus is we have to be able to make more money as players. Discipline issues we'll just dump on Roger Goodell because people hate him already. And when he has to make the tough choices, that's on him. The only thing we'll do is we'll raise a stink for the show that, oh, how can you do this? How can you suspend this player? What gives you the right to, and it's a show. It's
exactly
all a show because they're not going to make that. They punted the opportunity to make the tough decisions on discipline issues and take it out of their hands, put it in their hands, and they don't want to own it. And it's a lot like politics today. So my comment, I guess, is going back to the reason why I brought the Dome Patrol up in the first place is the Dome Patrol was a great front seven. We won a lot of 20-17 kind of games because we were able to get after the quarterback, stuff the run, and our offense could score just enough points to win a game. That kind of system defense won't work in today's NFL because the rules have been changed to such an extent to favor the offense so much that all offenses are going to be able to score. So my thinking is we can get as many all-star players as we want on defense. Excuse me. I don't think, unless our offense can put up a lot of points and not be the team that's only up by 2 or 3 or 6 with less than a minute left in the game, I think that's where we have to be able to do more than that. We have to be the team that can get that first down to run out the clock. We have to be the team to get that touchdown with less than a minute left in the game, so the defense doesn't go back out there. I think that's the way the game is structured today. That's the way you win.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And you look back on the past, I'll go further than the past season, go back in the past 2 seasons. How many games have we blown because we didn't get that first down in the last 2 minutes, as you were alluding to? We didn't get that touchdown when we were a few points behind. How many games have come down to that? And there's only so much that you can ask out of that defense. As you said, the rules and regulations of the game today favor the offense. So it's going to be set up to be where the offense is going to more than likely succeed more than it fails. But how much pressure can you put on that defense? And as we saw when Brees was hurt last year, how many of those games did Cam Jordan and that defense just absolutely take control over and win for the Saints? Bridgewater, don't get me wrong. I take nothing away from Teddy Bridgewater and the job that he did. He played a role. He did his job. He didn't do anything outstanding. He didn't do anything flashy. He managed the team, and that's all that you were asking of him. But that defense stepped up and won those games.
Well, here's my thing. We played one playoff in those 5 games, okay? That Bridgewater was the starter, and that was against Seattle. What happened in that Seattle game? Well, we got a lot of breaks early. We got a kickoff return for a touchdown. Or it might have been a punt return for a touchdown. I don't remember right off the top of my head. But it was
punt return.
Okay, punt return for a touchdown. We get a fumble recovery that I think Eli Apple or Von Bell ran in for a touchdown. Okay. Von Bell. Okay. So you got 2 special team or the special team play and a defensive play to score you 14 points. The offense scored just enough. Alvin Kamara got a couple touchdowns, but what did we see happen late in that game? Seattle's offense finally got going. They stopped turning the ball over. They stopped making the mistakes. And they basically ran out of time. It wasn't so much that they outscored, that we just blew them out. They ran out of time. They were coming back. They were getting
if there
all
had
the
been
points
another 5 minutes in that game,
Yeah.
we would have lost.
Right.
And there were several during that stretch of 5 or 6 games. There were several games that had they gone another 5 minutes, we would have lost.
Well, but you could say the same thing about the 49ers game. You probably could have won that game. You had another 5 minutes to play. Or, there are games that are like that. What I'm saying, though, is, yeah, you beat Dallas 12-10, and you beat Jacksonville, I think 16-13 or 16-10, something to that effect. You can win those games in the regular season. But when you start playing the playoff teams, you have to be able to score points, a lot of points, and score at will. The biggest reason, or the most frustrating thing about the Atlanta loss and the Minnesota loss was the inability of the offense to put points on the board.
Yeah,
people could have dealt with the problems on defense if the offense is putting points on the board, but they weren't even doing that. They looked flat on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely.
And as long as Sean Payton's your head coach, as long as you have Drew Brees at quarterback, you're going to have to weapons on offense to score a lot of points. And the fear people have is, do we have enough weapons on offense to score a lot of points? I think you've got a lot of potential in your starters, between Kamara, Thomas, Sanders, Cook. You've got the weapons to begin to start with offensive, score a lot of points with Drew Brees. But what happens when you have to start relying on the Traquan Smiths or the
Taysom Hill?
I don't want to say Trotman, but yeah, Taysom Hill, or you have to rely on Josh Hill. You have to rely on Latavius Murray. What happens when you have to go to those second and third tier guys? In the past, we had a Lance Moore, you had Dave Thomas, you had Mike Bell, you had even going in 2011, you had I'm doing terrible with names tonight. Number 29, not Kyrie Robertson.
Not Kyrie?
Before Kyrie. The big guy with the dreadlocks.
Cadet.
No, not Cadet. He was 39. 29. Somebody's going to throw it up in a second. We traded into the Jets. He went to the Jaguars. Chris Ivory.
That's what I was going to say.
Chris Ivory. You went to a Chris Ivory. You had players you could go to that were very good players. And that was the thing. We didn't have to worry about, okay, all right, Marcus Colson's not catching anything. Lance Moore, oh man, we can't get the ball, we're just not getting the passing game going. Oh hell, here's a big play to Devery Henderson, or Dave Thomas caught a great pass. Well, you had guys you could go to. You felt like, Pierre Thomas isn't in the game. Well, that's all right. Sproles, he could do it. That you just felt like it didn't matter what. Pick your poison. That was the same. Pick your poison. Right now we just kind of have top shelf liquor, and then we're going straight down after top shelf liquor. We're going straight to Schwegman's special, K&B vodka. Well, how else
Mad
can I
Dog
put it?
2020.
Yeah, you're at Mad Dog 2020. You're at Thunderbird. You're at Ripple. You're at knockoff Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill.
Oh my God.
You can't eat, the shit that's burning plastic, that kind of stuff. I thought this stuff was called Everclear. What's Everclone? What does that taste like? It'll start your damn car. That's what it'll do.
You don't want to have this around open flame.
No, I mean, man, if you get if your car freezes up, pour a little of this shit in the radiator. Watch what happens. You know.
Back in the day, the most visually exciting thing that I've ever seen was Gene Simmons in concert, where he holds the sword up and he blows the fire, and I thought, you know what, I can do that. Do you know how many bad mistakes have been made that started with the phrase, you know what, I can do that?
Right after, hey, y'all, watch this.
All this right here, it was burnt. But we learned a very valuable lesson. When it says do not use around open flame, there's a reason for that. Who knew?
Oh my God. That's why I always say, thank God the internet and phones didn't exist. Like, smartphones didn't exist back when I was in school and stuff like that, because that shit just becomes a memory and it gets better each time you tell it. No one has to go back and look at it and go, what the hell were you thinking?
Well, I mean, there was the time when I was going to be cool, and I can't believe I'm telling this story, but I had my hair was down to this low. I had this is in the 80s.
Hey, I told you that last picture you posted of yourself, people ought to go find that picture. I said, Michael Bolton, is that you?
Yeah, you and I haven't talked about that, but somebody else posted under there. I think it was John Butler posted a picture of Weird Al. John, you got one coming, brother. But anyway, I was going to be real cool one night, and I put a cigarette in my mouth, and I was cultivating the Stephen Pearcy, who's the lead singer for Rat. He had this thing where he would take his bangs and flip them over, and they would cover one side of his face like this. And I was going to be cool, and I was going to put a cigarette in my mouth and flip my hair and light the cigarette in front of these girls, not taking into consideration the fact that I had a can and a half of Aquanet on the bangs that I so when I threw them up, they went up about this high, and then they came back down, and that ended up in me running in a circle hollering at people, asking them to put me out. That wasn't exactly a shining moment for me, but made for a good story. And
I got two words for you, Michael Jackson. Did you not see the Pepsi commercial?
This was before Michael Jackson, actually.
Okay.
And my fantastic bandmates, the guys that I lived with and played with,
thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, they sit there and laugh their ass off. They thought that was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. Run faster to put the flames out.
Yeah. That's how it'll act like wind and blow it out. Yeah.
Yeah. They said, man, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I said, well, thanks. I'm glad I could be your home entertainment center, asshole. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I can honestly say I didn't do shit like that. But I did other shit that, I'm just glad that people aren't there to see that stuff, because that's
it makes for good stories when you're able to retell it.
That's right. That's why you're bald today.
Yeah.
All right. Chad wants to know, I guess you didn't get the girls then, did you?
No, I did not. I can tell you. I did make an impression because I've seen both of them in the past 10 years, and they remember that night well.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Not nearly as well as I remember that night, but they thought that was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. I did make an impression. Let's just say that.
Well, I this is back in the day before music, on your phone, and just streaming services and things like that. So I had a huge collection of cassette tapes and albums that I would record on cassette tapes. And whenever we'd have parties, and we've had two parties we called the eviction parties because we were convinced we would get evicted after these parties, because I mean we're pointing speak to the street, and we got cars parked all in the yard. We got everything going on. We're barbecuing, garbage cans full of alcohol, ice chests that's permanently stained red because that was jungle juice, all that kind of stuff. All right. So anyway, I get to relive some of these parties because I used to DJ because I had all the music. I would DJ these things, and the recording button is next to the record button's next to the stop button. So, I would sit there with my headphones and I'd cue up the next song, get ready to go. So as I'm switching music, I might hit record by accident. So I've got dozens of cassettes. I'm not kidding. Where there's a blank spot in the middle of a song, at the end of a song, I'm going, damn, hit record instead of stop. But I mean, I would cue shit up, and I had this. I wouldn't bring turntables because the one time I did bring turntables, I'm mixing Grease Lightning and the Grease songs all together. Going back and forth. Well, one of the deans is at one of our parties that we're throwing, and he's not a dean anymore. Obviously, but he was a college dean at the time. He decides he's going to do John Travolta's Grease Lightning. Where he jumps out and goes, "Go Grease Lightning," the hand gestures. Oh, you're laughing at that. Well, you know that. Everybody knows that, okay? Well, he does that. When he did that, it made my records jump. So we went from Grease Lightning to Hopelessly Devoted to You in the middle of it. I'm going, no more turntables. If I don't have a table on a stage, the floor is not going to shake when I do this. Yeah. So, I would have two turntables. I have shit going. I'd mix shit you wouldn't believe what I would mix together. The sound. I thought I'd listen for the beat. I'm like, okay, I know that beat, and that sounds like something else. So I'd go right to another song, and it would be 80s music along with I throw 70s shit in there just to shake people up. I threw in dialogue just like from comedians. So you had Sam Kinison screaming at you in the middle of oh that kind of thing. So I knew I had fun. It was a lot of. That's why people would ask me, take over the DJing, because I had a good feel for the. I knew what people would get into. So man, I go in and I go crazy. So it happens when we have parties at our age. And Alan's going to start controlling the music in a minute, and the music's lame right now. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to control the music. This party's getting lame, man. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to play some fun. We're going to hear some Atomic Dog right now. That's what we're going to go into. Bow, wow, wow, yippee, yo, yippee, yay.
Anyway, I had a flashback. Sorry about that.
There we go. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. So that's why I'm saying I'm glad there weren't phones back then, because people.
Yeah, when you relive it, it's never quite as fun as you remembered it.
Well, here I'll tell you one story real quick. At one of the eviction party number 1, I think it was, because eviction party number 2. That wasn't nearly as much fun as eviction party number 1. That's why we had a second one. So I got a friend of mine. He and I in constitutional law class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This apartment, this duplex, and I know we're over time, but I'm going to go through this real quick. It had cinder block walls, okay? And the floor was the old asbestos-looking tile floors. We took all the furniture, threw it upstairs. So you just had open floor space. And I had speakers pointing out the windows into the street, so you could dance in the room or you could dance in the front yard, and we got the barbecue going. We got the garbage can in there, because if the floor gets all messed up, we take the hose from the outside and just start spraying the apartment down and squeegee the shit out. I mean, it was easy.
That's right.
We invited
We were
there.
problem solvers in the 80s.
That's right. They couldn't figure out, one of my friends couldn't figure out how footprints got on the walls. And it was because the English professor, when he would talk to you, whenever you're sitting there talking and drinking, he'd have a foot resting up against the wall. So you have footprints all along the walls. But anyway, the stairs were wooden stairs that were kind of at a steep angle, and I'm underneath the stairwell. That's where the stereo equipment stuff was. We had it all plugged in, and I had one speaker out there, one speaker in with me, and I had another radio where I could cue up the cassettes and listen on my headphones as I'm swapping shit out. So anyway, there was a set of wooden stairs, and my friend Joel, the bathroom was at the end of the stairs. You went straight up the steps, and the very first room you saw when you got to the top of the stairs was the bathroom. So people were going up and down the thing the whole time. Well, Joel, before he hit the keg, was drinking Stoli and tonic, I think, and he had about 10 of them before he got there. And Joel's a big guy. Okay, so he's trash to begin with, and then he starts drinking beer. Well, he comes down the stairs. He says, "Man, wooden steps. These are kind of spilling drinks and stuff on the steps." And he says, "Man, these steps are kind of slick." He says, "I bet you could body surf down this thing." So he starts body surfing down the stairs. So I'm sitting on the stairwell, and he goes boom, 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 all the way down. I go, "What the hell happened?" Now look over around the stairs, and here's Joel. He hits the back wall at the foot of the stairs, laughing his ass off, going, "That was awesome. I'm gonna do it again." He runs up the stairs, boom, 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 boom. He did it like 3 times. And he ended up having to leave the party. His girlfriend was about 4 feet tall, and she was a little cheerleader, short little cheerleader. He had a Mustang convertible. Joel, in the movies, man, he was pouring himself a beer, and he just fell straight back. Boom, out. He's gone he's done. She's like, "I can't carry him. I cannot get him in the car." So we pick him up. 2 people grab his legs, 2 people grab his arms. We carry him to his car, and she puts the top down. We threw him in the back seat. Now, how you get him out of that car after that, that's your problem. We got him in the car. She's like, "No, that's great. We'll take care of it." So I don't see Joel on Monday. I have class with him on Tuesday. He comes in, he sits down next to me and said, "Joel, how you feeling?" He's like, "Man, I don't know what the hell I did, but Sunday, I did not wake up till like 4:00 in the afternoon Sunday." And he says, "And all day Sunday and Monday, my ribs hurt. Couldn't figure out why." I'm like, "Yeah, I got some stairs that tell you why your ribs hurt." So, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Man, the 80s were such a great time to be alive.
No, we just had, I mean, we didn't do anything illegal. Well,
I wish I could say that.
Technically we did, but we really weren't obnoxiously bad or anything like that.
Yeah, we didn't like try to hurt people except ourselves.
We weren't destroying property. We weren't really doing anything awful. I didn't tell you the eviction party, number one, after the eviction party, that Sunday morning, one of my friends went out there to cook the rest of the chicken that we were barbecuing. He decided to finish cooking it. So he's out there in his underwear, shirtless, grilling chicken in the front yard. There are tire tracks all in the yard from where people drove up into the yard for parking and tore out and shit like that. The sign that I had made with one of those dot matrix printers, with the long, where it's folded and has a long stuff that cats like to play with. Mm-hmm. It said Beer drinkers and hellraisers welcome. That was still hanging on the front of the duplex. The speaker was still outside because we just went to bed. There's total redneck. Indoor furniture is now outside where people could sit and drink. Beer cups everywhere. The keg is floating in the what's now the ice is all melted, so it's water. And the landlord comes to show the property next door to some people who might want to move in. Yeah, that was good. That was fun. Yeah, but like I said, we didn't do anything that was illegal. Just
we didn't do anything permanent.
No, it's not like
except to our own brain cells.
Yeah, it's not like what happened to my best friend John, who came running down the stairs one time, turned off the TV while the other guy's watching TV, cuts all the lights off, and he goes, what the hell? What's going on? And John's looking out the window, and he says, what are we doing? And he says, well, you know that girl I've been seeing? Yeah. She's married. Oh. Great. Okay. Who's she married to? A cop. That wouldn't happen to be the cop that's passing in front of this neighborhood, this light searching addresses, would it? Maybe. Thanks.
You can't make this stuff up.
No, true story. True story. I was there. True story.
I could tell a few stories about life on the road, but I will save that for the not safe for prime time version of the show. In the DVD extras.
That's right. I got 100 stories. I could tell you a story about almost every weekend I was in college where we had something happen that was just unbelievable. And we tell these same stories every time my friends and I get together. The stories all come right back again, and they get funnier each time we tell them. But thank you guys for joining us tonight and listening to the reminiscence of days of youth. That's what happens when it's the off season and not a whole lot's going on. We warned you. I mean, this is going to be, next week will be something else. But there's so much depressing news right now. I don't even want to go into that stuff because we honestly need a break from that. I mean, between coronavirus, George Floyd, the riots, and now guess what? A hurricane's come. Well, tropical depression may come this way. We Murder Hornets were apparently the filler episode for the season of 2020. So we don't need that stuff. I mean, if you want to read about that stuff, you want to see that stuff, that's you.
Go search it out and look for it. Yeah, we're not gonna perpetuate that here.
No, we need to laugh more. We need to have fun more. We need to, and like Anna said, down here we call Corona all this shit going on. It's not just Corona. Right. It's everything. It's everything. I'd rather bore you with stupid stuff that I did as a kid and in college than sermonize you on other stuff.
Exactly.
It's about life is too short to be depressed all the time.
If that's the kind of stuff that you want to focus on, there's more than enough outlets out there for you to seek it out and find it. You're not going to find it here. We try to, we appreciate every person that takes the time to tune us in, whether it be once, whether it be every week. Anna, Jerry, Chad, everybody, Calvin, all the people.
We got a new one tonight, Paula.
Paula Almeida Ray Stevens.
Yep.
That's my best friend in this world.
Yep.
Yeah. She's awesome. But there's more than enough places for you to seek this out and to find your information and divulge in it as you see fit. We appreciate every person that takes the time to support what we do and to be a part of what we do. And as we've said innumerable times, if it weren't for you guys, there would be no us, because you guys don't support what we do, then there's no avenue for us to do it. And that means everything to us. And we try to beat that home as often as we can. As Alan alluded to, there's enough negativity going on in the world right now. The virus, the protests, everything. And you can fall where you want to on that, and that's your choice. But I don't see the need for us to use the platform that we have to justify or negate anything that's going on. That's not what we're here for.
There's nothing that we can say that hasn't already been said, and we're nobodies. I mean, if hearing from us, we're just two guys talking. You know, it's really, you do what you do to make this world a better place. And in my life, that has been the way I raised my kids, the way I treat other people, and the way I live my life. And that's all I can do. That's how you make better people. And I've said this, and I'm sorry again to go political on everybody, but I've said this a dozen times, not on this show, but I've said it a dozen times elsewhere. Our society has become more tolerant and more accepting of other points of view now more than any other time in history. And it's only going to get better. That's just the way people are. It's only going to get better. We're only going to be more accepting and more tolerant with each generation. And why? Because we raise our kids to be better people than what we were. And we raise...
Well, the world, we're a lot more accepting of the world.
Sure.
Changing.
Absolutely.
The world is different now than when our parents had us and were raising us. The world is different, and we accept that a lot more than generations before us.
Right. And that's how you have to look at things. Things are getting better each time. Okay. Things are always going to get better. So as bad as it is, as horrible as it is at times, because my wife and I had this conversation the other night, now she begins to understand how parents must have felt having kids in 1968. I was already born. My wife was still a year away from being born in 68. But, to live in that time, it feels like nothing's changed, but it has changed. It has changed dramatically. So again, I'm sorry I brought all this stuff up, but I just wanted to say that things will always get better. Better days are always coming. So what we try and do here tonight and every week is laugh with some of our stupidity, make you think maybe a little bit, but, get your mind off of the here and now. And that's easier when that the here and now is temporary, that tomorrow will always be better. It's not going to be worse. It hasn't been, and it won't be. That's how I feel about life. So anyway, Paula apparently is waiting to see some Taysom. You have to fight my daughter for that one. She likes her some Taysom too. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time under the dome. Good night, everybody.